Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage, and this is a 1965 Chrysler 300L. Again. I did a video on this car a few weeks ago, extolling its virtues and showing off how pretty it is. Today I have to actually work on it, so let's get into that. Problem the first. This is horrible. Boop. Did you know that reproduction parts are absolutely the best ever, and they're great, and they always work well without any modification or swearing required? It works in my hand, but as soon as I install it in there, it doesn't anymore. Why? Enter the NOS Chrysler replacement. Let's see if this works. Promising. Nifty. I even adjusted the catch and it sits down lower. Still doesn't line up correctly, but it's an improvement. Just a tiny 2-screw part. There's half an hour gone. Now we can get into what it really needs done. In the first video, I mentioned that this thing was, well, gutless is the wrong word, but it wasn't exactly sprightly. And I also noticed in one clip that it's billowing black smoke, so that's cool. First and foremost, I'd like to check the timing. I heard it pop a couple times, so that's not ideal. Well, that's pretty close. It's got about 30 degrees mechanical all in. Well, if the timing mark's right, it's really close to the spec. Ooh, this is cool. It's all the factory markings for goofy machining on original engines. Like the Maltese cross you sometimes see on the number pad. Okay, the tune is at least close as far as the timing goes, but I'll tell you what isn't. Kickdown adjustment. Alright. To adjust the factory kickdown linkage, pop the spring off, the clip, washer, all that. Pop this off of here and thread this end piece in or out until it is fully pressed rearward at full throttle. Which, as you can see, I'm holding the carburetor at now. If you want more info on that, I've got a whole video on kickdown linkages, so check it out. I have to say, I'm actually impressed by how wrong that adjustment was. It's pretty cool. Anyway, it's good now. I've complained a good bit in the past about the obsession of people on the internet with grounds when anyone asks about an electrical problem. Some people are really serious about grounds. They'll add extra ones everywhere. We've got ground straps on ground straps. That's great. But rather entertainingly, the main engine ground strap left off. I guess I'll fix that. Fully restored. Entertainingly enough, I hadn't checked this because the vacuum pod looks so nice. It doesn't work. So that's fun. You'll know it doesn't work when you suck on the hose and air just moves through it. Things are really weird in this distributor. The rotor doesn't fit tightly, which is not normal for this design. The parts have been like refinished. The pickup cover's missing, which I've never seen before. There are like freshly soldered connections in here. The screws are wrong. I might have a thing for distributors. More on that later. If you want to test it without using your mouth, you can do this. It's a no, gang. Time to go shopping in the Rocket Parts Horde once again. As you can see, we've got a few options to choose from. We're looking for electronic ignition big block. Here's one. It's bad. And still, my bag goes deeper. Maybe. That one works. The number on the arm's actually different, but it looks the same. It may give a different amount of total advance, but let's try this anyway. I don't know what this is or why, but we definitely don't need it. Like it never happened. Well, I fired it up, hit the throttle twice. It backfired out the carb in spectacular fashion. So now I've decided I need to check the timing mark because I don't think it's right at all. Now I don't have a piston stop, but I do have a button and my finger to jam in the number 1 hole and feel for compression. Now that my nasty fingernail's finally grown out from the last time I did this, let's see if I can bust another finger. Yeah, so can't really turn this engine by hand at all. Should I be concerned about that? Alright, Evan crawled under there and managed to get it turning. Barely. And we were able to find that the mark is close. It might be as far as 5 degrees off. Little rich. Not as bad as I thought, actually. Oh yeah, I did verify the piston springs are good. Seem to be. They jump right up, happily. This thing sure wants to idle low, even with the choke closed. Alright, that's a little better. My tiny random timing bump was good for 2 extra inches of mercury, so that's a good sign. According to the mark, this is 18 degrees base. It idled the best at 27 degrees on the mark for what it's worth. Starts great there, so that's a good sign. Well, we're definitely close on that. It certainly runs better. So now I'm going to turn my attention to the charging system. Well, the jury's in. This alternator sucks. It's really common to have connection problems here in the firewall or bulkhead connector. But on these cars, they actually have nice metal pass-throughs for those main wires. It's almost like they knew that was going to be a problem. If you've got low charging output problems on an A or B body, you should probably check that. It's very common to find like melted spots in there. We do seem to have about 1 volt to 1.5 volts of drop in the ignition circuit, but even putting full power right here to the regulator didn't change the charge output at all. So yeah, pretty sure the alternator's getting tired. We already knew the rag joint was bad, but we think the junction block's put together wrong too. And then of course there's some play in the gearbox, because of course there is. But this is not ideal. It shouldn't do that. So we'll be fixing that at some point. This is just too fancy. I'd love to like go test drive this thing, but first I need to figure this out. We have bypass fan power. What? The fan magically fixed itself between the last time I looked at it and now. Oh, it's broken again. Oh, it's the switch. Okay. Apparently it needs a switch. Deer poop. I bumped the idle up a little bit, which helped the charging situation. But then I learned that when you turn on the blower, it does that. And when you turn on the AC, it does that. And that's a problem. For science, I'm going to check my own work on this and test a different regulator, which as you can see is super easy to get to. Carefully. No. There we go. Wah, wah. Huh. Actually, that did raise charge output a bit. I don't like the look of that. It started sprinkling. So now we're hiding from the rain, which will definitely stop in 18 seconds. Just from moving it like 200 feet, I can tell you it's running much better. The belt slip's a good indicator too. I've only just noticed this horrible noise. Here's the crazy part. That noise is a metal rod in a rubber bushing. It makes no sense, but there it is. According to the list, there was a goofed up taillight bulb. No, there are 4 goofed up taillight sockets. The brakes and turn signals are just totally random. Sometimes it's just inners, sometimes it's 1 inner, 1 outer, sometimes it's none at all, which is really cool. As you can probably tell, someone was already taking a stab at fixing this problem. These classic taillight sockets look like this. They're self-grounding in the metal, and they have a spring plate in there. It's like fiber stuff with contacts for the connections on the bulb. What happens is they kind of sink into that fiber. Also, sometimes the springs fail, and then they just sit down in the bottom and don't really make very good contact. Now, bad ground is also a very common problem with these sockets. The symptom for that is they'll work on the dim side. In fact, if you've got the running lights off and you hit the brake or the blinker, it'll light up, but it won't actually be bright. When you turn the running light on, it'll be dim, and then when you hit the brake or blinker, the bulb will go out. Telltale indicator of a ground problem. Nice. You know, I don't think 29 amps at 2000 RPM is enough. Things are looking crispy in here. Let's see what the new one does. Probably do more with that plugged in. Oh, haven't seen that yet. Okay, here's it idle now. It's basically even. Right off idle, good bit of charge. Pretty sure the battery's still a little low. Anyway, here's AC on. So that's not great, but just off of idle, it actually charges the battery now. So that's a big improvement. We're getting a whole lot more juice. Well, now the rear driver window fell off the track, so that's good. I guess we'll go for a hardtop test drive today, even though it's freezing. And the sky is not looking the best. All right, freezing is unfair. It's slightly cold. So yeah, I accidentally turned it into a hot rod. That's my bad. Ooh, that's pretty. A Mini. That's the complete opposite of the 300. You can make like 3 of those out of this. Anyway, nah, it's too much timing. All right, we'll pull it back a little. Yeah, maybe we'll pull it back a lot. Testing. Huh. A second ago, it actually chirped the tires on accident. Okay, well, I mean, it's respectable. It's still not fast by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe I was wrong about the whole timing mark thing. It's definitely close anyway. You know, this doesn't seem super safe to me. Just saying. Went ahead and tested the 4-wheel drum brakes. Not good. It was still pinging. So now I've taken out enough timing that it sounds... Okay, not horrible. And it's still pulling almost 18 inches of mercury at idle. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that like every single car could benefit from a recurve distributor. In case you were wondering, I didn't know I'd be doing this today or I would have brought my phone mount. That's the way it goes. All right, no more pinging, but it's slow again. I wonder if he's got premium gas in this. You know, I've never really minded drum brakes, but I've come to the realization this week that they are terrible. All right, Kickdown test 3.0. Nice. Way better. I'm still not sure about the carburetor tune. I mean, we saw on video in the first episode on this car, it was billowing black smoke, so that's not a good sign. And I've been hearing some breakup, some mild misfiring when revving up the engine. That's not ideal either. Okay. I just got it to chirp the tires on the 2-to-1 Kickdown, so maybe it is decent anyway. Time to hide from the rain again. I think it's inside. A couple commenters have asked about this car. It's a 1973 Dodge Polara Washington State Patrol car. It's slightly broken. I actually have a video on an identical car up on the channel, so go check that out. We'll do something with this someday, probably. The charging system does more charging. The transmission kicks down. It runs better. I feel like we're leaving some power on the table, but it's really not that kind of car either. At least the center console stays shut. That's a big upgrade. Well, I think that's it for the L today. There's more to do, but I've got other fish to fry. So what's the lesson? Same as always, I guess. Check everything. All the little things. Make sure that your distributor works right, I guess. It's a good one. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And remember, just because PBJs fit in the VCR does not mean they belong in there. Why are those clutches always that close to the radiator? It's terrifying. So far, so good, I guess. Tut tut. Looks like rain.